West Asia is standing at the edge of something far bigger than just another military exchange, because this is no longer only about missiles, military bases or nuclear threats. This is now about roads, railways, bridges, strategic oil routes, and the very skeleton of a nation's infrastructure. And at the center of this explosive moment is one chilling warning from Donald Trump. A whole civilization will die tonight. And now, before Trump's latest deadline to Iran, the war appears to have entered a dangerous new phase. Overnight, the United States reportedly struck military-linked targets near Iran's strategic Kharg Islands, the same island through which most of Iran's oil exports move. At the same time, strikes have been reported on multiple railway lines across Iran today, following a warning from IDF. But first, let's listen in to what Donald Trump has said.
In Iran, while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well, at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to.
So as we were reporting, strikes have been witnessed across multiple railway lines across Iran, following a warning from IDF ordering Iranians not to use trains and to stay away from the country's railways for 12 hours. Iran has reported railway lines that have been hit, transport bridges have been struck, freeways disrupted, strategic connectivity damaged across the country. Now, the clock was ticking down to US President Donald Trump's deadline for Iran to strike a deal and open the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point in the global energy trade, or be heavily bombed and face quote-unquote hell. The deadline was supposed to be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday or Wednesday, 3:30 a.m. Tehran time. Tehran had responded publicly to his threat with defiance, and one military commander calling Trump's threats baseless and delusional. In fact, Iran has now, with the latest threat of Donald Trump, called him a psychopath. What Iran really said earlier: if attacks on non-civilian targets are repeated, our retaliatory response will be carried out for more forceful and at a much wider scale. The spokesperson for the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters had said. And a spokesperson from Iran's foreign ministry urged Americans to hold their government responsible for what he described as an unfair, aggressive war against Iran. But now, USA and Israel forces have struck, and this is unquestionably an escalation amid what many thought could possibly have been a ceasefire, especially as targeting critical civilian infrastructure could be considered a war crime. Objects indispensable to a population's survival, including water treatment plants, are prohibited. As military targets under Geneva Conventions, infrastructure might be considered a valid target if it has a dual use for Iran's military. But Trump has threatened to not just blow up some of Iran's power plants, he's threatened to blow up all of them. In fact, many had pointed out that targeting civilian infrastructure amounts to a war crime. But for Trump administration, they've largely shrugged off these concerns. Trump has said he wasn't worried and that the real war crime was allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And then we have Donald Trump, who has claimed that Iran is an active, willing participant in negotiations to potentially end the war. But those indirect talks stalled last week, and work towards an in-person meeting had appeared to end after neither side agreed to a last-ditch proposal for a 45-day ceasefire, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. So now, with attacks on the roads and railways and bridges, and with Iran saying that if the US crosses red lines, the response will be beyond the region, and Iran's Revolutionary Guard warning the neighboring countries that restraint is over, the escalation is evident. And has this entered a phase when nobody can fully control what happens next? I'm being joined at this point by Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, who is a former India diplomat, Major General S.B. Asthana, defense and strategic expert, as well as Adit Kothari, who's a geopolitics and foreign affairs expert, live from London. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me. Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, what are we really looking at? Look at the language of Donald Trump. And this comes just successive 2 nights. We just had a remark from Donald Trump little over 24 hours ago that everybody said, how could a president speak like this? And yet again, within just a matter of few hours, you have Donald Trump threatening an entire civilization. Does one see this as war rhetoric, or is there more to this?
Well, I think it's very scary, first of all, Sneha, because it's a 5,000-year civilization, which, unlike India's civilization, unfortunately, was never colonized like Afghanistan. This is a civilization, a proud civilization. He's talking about wiping it out as if each and every person living there is like an insect to be exterminated. It is really disturbing to hear such language. It is completely against international law. You cannot take out critical civilian infrastructure. You cannot leave an entire civilization to die without water, without electricity, without food, etc. And for what purpose? If you don't like a particular regime, are the entire civilian population of Iran supposed to be punished for it? And moreover, there are repercussions much beyond this. Yeah. Because if then Iran responds and takes out the desalination plants in the neighboring countries, you have an entire different civilization facing extinction because of lack of water, and that includes, Neha, I have to say to you, to our Indian audience, 10 million Indians living in the Gulf countries.
That's true.
These Indians have been there for years.
Right.
They contribute to the prosperity of the Gulf. What are we going to do if they have no water and no infrastructure? How are we going to repatriate 10 million Indians if he decides tonight to take out, as he says, an entire civilization? Does he even understand the repercussions of what he's saying? I mean, it is really, really scary. I think that there are talks going on at the back. It has been known, they used to say taco. I don't know whether taco holds true anymore there, but if it holds true, which I pray it would, he may extend the deadline so that talks can happen. Because do the people of the United States of America, do they really want to destroy an entire civilization? Is that why America was the leader of the free world? It is so disturbing. I think that this kind of very dangerous rhetoric, which we thought had finished with World War II, has come back, and the whole world, but more than anything else, the democratic people of the United States of America must rise and restrain this kind of language and allow peace a chance. As the Beatles used to say when I was in school, you were not probably born then, when they said, give peace a chance. Let's give peace a chance. It's our only
Ambassador,
chance.
very important points. But the big question that emerges out of what you're really saying is, who can control Donald Trump? Because everything seems to be collapsing, whether it be NATO's, whether it be his closest allies, his trusted confidants. Nobody seems to be in a position to be able to really control Donald Trump. And therefore, you have just hours before a deadline where everybody was hoping there would have been a ceasefire. You have an absolute escalation of sorts. Let me just get in Major General S.B. Asthana at this time. Indian government has actually asked people to stay put where they are in Iran, Indians in Iran. And what we are understanding at this point, there are around 8,000 Indians in Iran as we speak. And there is a message from the government of India, stay put, stay indoors, wherever you are, if you're there. This is huge. This is very worrying. We don't know what the next few hours are going to hold. So we're not going to go into what we don't know. What we do know, Major General S.B. Asthana, is a very simple thing. And that is, there has been an attack at Kharg Islands. And that is telling.
See, let me analyze it in this manner. Firstly, this is President Trump's technique of maximum pressure negotiation.
Okay.
Now, like it or not, there are certain limits to President Trump himself. What he has spoken is pure blackmail. If he walks what he has spoken, if he walks the talk, then it is a war crime. And there is no doubt, there is no other definition of it. The second part is that can he actually go through it? What he can go through as a realistic analysis of, as a strategic analyst, what I would say, he is going to continue with the standoff attacks, which will intensify. These standoff attacks are happening in the critical infrastructure, which he can frame it as a dual-use infrastructure. And find some kind of justification that it is military come civil use kind of just. So therefore, all the, shall I say, in his definition, the railway lines, the bridges, the power plants, they are being used by IRGC, and therefore, in his language, in his justification, a justified target, although Geneva Convention doesn't support that. The second part is, will he go for a ground operation? Answer is absolutely no. After experiencing the kind of tension which he went through with a single pilot, you can forget about he is risking other, shall I say, other components of the ground forces. Thirdly, Iran is not going to budge. He knows till now, every single attack has been retaliated by Iran. Everything which Iran said that if you do this, I will do that, I will do this, they have done it. So there is very little to assume that if he fires at all the desalination plants of Iran, the desalination plants of Gulf countries will remain safe. The answer is no. So this is known to him. So in my opinion, what is going to happen is that he is going to take out some more missiles. He is trying to intensify, and then perhaps by morning or say maybe by tomorrow, he will try to see as to what best he can get out of the deal, and then find some excuse of again TACO. He'll find an excuse to say, yes, this is the best which I could achieve, and then he will try to find some exit strategy. Now, Israel is interpreting it differently. Israel's option is that this is the only time I have, because it may happen, because after this high tension drama, something is going to happen which may end up into some kind of negotiation. So let me make the best of it. And that is why they are destroying all the targets which they can, whether it is bridges or energy infrastructure or whatever. So they are trying to make the best of it. I don't think President Trump, knowing his past credentials, he doesn't have the guts to do it. Iranians have the guts to do what they say. He doesn't have it.
Come in at this point, Adit Kothari. Attacking railways, bridges, power stations, desalination plants is no longer about attacking only one country. This is going to have global ramifications. And at this point, there seems to be no breaks.
True. I think that is the scary trajectory that is looking obvious from here on, because we've got to bear in mind that Trump is looking for an easy exit, which makes him look as the winner, which at least postures him as the winner. And from an Iranian perspective, they are looking to retain dignity, and both sides do not want to yield. The Iranians have already shut down multiple attempts that the United States have made through, the back channels, trying to get them to sign up a deal, whether that be the 15-point agenda. Iran comes back with another 10-point agenda, which is absolutely laughable. So both sides are completely unyielding at this point. So the trajectory at the ultimate may be an off ramp of sorts, messy off ramp where both sides, agree and compromise to a certain degree, and both sides, posture to their people and to the global media of being the winner. But ultimately, the trends are very scary because it's a four-way war. In a four-way war, we are just looking at it from a prism of United States and Iran. Where we are actually missing out are the GCC countries because they too want certain things out of Iran, and Israel, who want the Houthis, the Hezbollah, and the Hamas to be neutralized, which Iran is not going to agree to. So they want to persist with that asymmetrical warfare. So even if an off ramp was to happen now, medium to long term, Iran continues to not only hold the Strait of Hormuz as hostage, but also continues to hurt Israel in an asymmetrical warfare kind of a scenario, which is not acceptable to Israel. So I don't see this ramping down at any point. Trump is trying to be, both Major General Astana and Ambassador Mukherjee made a point about the Taco Trump. We are looking at Taco Trump and, the bully boy Hexit at this point. But who we are truly missing out in the grand scheme of things is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is probably the only adult in the room who's making some sense, who is publicly defending the necessity of the war, but he is also saying that there is enough diplomatic heft in both sides to agree to a deal. So, hopefully senses prevail, and we don't go into that trajectory of hitting civilian infrastructure where it becomes a human catastrophe, and both sides come
Right.
up come off as appearing as winners.
Right, Ambassador, if I can come to you at this point, Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, um, we have a breaking which is going on air, and I did mention about this earlier in the show as well, about how India has given an advisory for Indians who are in Iran right now. But the question really is, even if this is a war tactic, because this is something that US has spoken of in the past as well, and you've had Pete Hegseth speak about this, Dan Kane speak about this, that they have all options open, and they may change their mind, they may decide whatever they have to do in America's interest. But really, is Trump's interest and America's interest meeting at this point? Because you have his close confidants saying that Trump must finish what he has set out to do. But you have another America which is saying this is not what we voted Trump for with respect to MAGA.
Very simple, Sneha. Those who have huge egos, and that's not just restricted to Trump, they need a face saver. So he needs a face saver by which he can say, I've accomplished what I wanted to do, I scared these guys, they're all trembling, they're calling me uncle, etc., etc. I really didn't understand what calling him uncle meant until I was told by American friends it means we surrender. That's not going to happen. But he's a face saver. On the other hand, it is important also to understand that his MAGA base does not want him to get involved in a war which is unwinnable from an American perspective, and which is very bad for the US global economy and for US economy. And therefore, I am convinced that these threats, as others correctly pointed out, the taco part of it, I don't know. I'm not fond of tacos in any case. I never eat them. Bad for the health. The point here is he going to back down? No. Yeah, he will not back down. He will accept a face saver. He will first give a 2 or 3 day extension. And secondly, he has to understand that the United States actually established international law after World War II And international law after World War II does not permit a member state of the UN to say, I'm going to wipe out the civilization of another member state of the UN. And we have to understand that if Iran retaliates and takes out the desalination plants of the neighboring countries who are close allies of the United States, they will be also destroying a different civilization in their own way. And we will be looking to how to repatriate 10 million Indians who will be without water, infrastructure, food, and resources. Let's face it, this is a real challenge. He has to back off, but he needs a face saver. Give him a face saver. Give him a face saver and save the world. Because it seems to me we are facing for the first time after World War II a situation where further escalation is actually dangerous for the entire international peace and security.
Right.
Not allow Netanyahu to drag Trump further into this conflict.
Right, Major
America-
General, Major General S.B. Asthana, would you agree with what Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee has said? You have said that Donald Trump is doing nothing but blackmailing. This is the language of blackmailing. Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee is saying he's attempting to look at a face saver. At the end of the day, are these two sides of the same coin?
Exactly. We both are saying the same thing. He is looking for a face saver, and for getting that face saver, he is trying to use maximum pressure and maximum threats. And these are the kind of this language, his language, his demeanor, his everything, his tweets, everything is indicating that that is what he wants to
Right.
achieve. Now, coming on to the practicality of it, the practicality is that standoff strikes are still going on. The dual use infrastructure is still being targeted. And there were attacks, as you rightly mentioned, on Kharg Island as well. But as of now, the energy of Kharg Island has not been destroyed as of now. But at the same time, the targeting and the strikes and counter strikes and tit for tat responses are also happening.
Right.
So therefore, both sides are looking difficult. Now we discussed about Trump. Now let's look at the other side. As far as Iran is concerned, they just cannot agree to surrender based on this threat by any stretch of imagination. Because how do you know that tomorrow they will again face the same situation? And this is exactly what they don't want.
Also, who
So they say
decides
that
for
once
Iran
all-
whether they need to surrender or not, whether they need to stop or not, or they need to pull out? Who decides it for Iran? That's also a huge leadership
Exactly.
crisis within Iran as well, for that matter, even if you're saying IRGC is at the forefront of it.
Yes, IRGC is the one which is deciding. Let's have no doubts about it. They may have a supreme leader, they may have any other leader, but it is as of now hardcore IRGC during wartime, which will decide and dictate terms. And in their perception, what in case they surrender today, they will have to live with it for rest of their life and for the rest of the part of the history. And therefore, they have also made up their mind that be what may be, whatever are the consequences, we are not going to surrender to USA. And that is why you find that the news which is coming out in the open domain is that they have stopped all channels, direct or indirect, of talks
Coming
after
in
these
as well.
threats.
You're right about this, Major General Asthana. In fact, there's a breaking that's coming in which says that all diplomatic channels, indirect talks have completely been frozen. That's what we are breaking on our screen. So you're spot on about this particularly. Though US, Donald Trump has said if lucky, we may have something by the end of the day. But we really don't know whether that's going to take shape. Iran has closed all forms of communication with the United States. That's at least something that's coming in. Very quickly, we're totally out of time, sir. Adat Kotari, maybe the last 30 seconds to you to close it. At one point, you know, you had the US crude surpass Brent, possibly for the first time. Nothing of that will matter if Iran is bombed. It's not about, US cannot stand in isolation.
The US certainly cannot stand in isolation. US is already isolating most of its allies. We're seeing the way they're treating NATO. United Kingdom, from where I am, the kind of statements that he's making about the Prime Minister is very unbecoming of a president of the United States. But coming back to this war, given the number of times he's shifted the goalpost, shifted the deadlines, and the deadlines have slipped without massive escalation. I think this 8 p.m. deadline, there is a decent chance that it could see another short extension, a last-minute sort of diplomatic movement,
Right.
which may come across, and Iran will continue to be publicly defiant. But I think economically, because they are squeezed, they will probably not end up being suicidal, and I think we might be able to get something done between the two of them. I think a short extension is quite a possibility going forward from here on.
Right, thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, thank you so much. Major General S.B. Astana, thank you very much for your time. Adit Kothari, thank you very much for your time. Some very, very important moments ahead.